I just love waiting for this to go live.
It already told me, gave me notes. This meeting is going live.
And there it is. We are live on a Tuesday night for Talk Time with TJ, Triple T number 237 on July 14th, 2026. Welcome to Triple T. My name is TJ Zebel. I like to call myself a professional problem solver, which I always follow up with, no, I don't know everything. I just have a unique way of asking questions and helping people get to the solutions they are looking for. So glad you guys are here. We got all sorts of people coming. We got a few that are going to be a little late. And we also got people on YouTube that I get to say hi to, such as Mom. Hi, Mom. Mom's up in Minnesota. I'm actually going to be up there tomorrow. Got a class reunion, my 10th year class reunion, or
Nice.
something like that. Whoever's in charge of the reunion put down a different number, which I think I don't understand. Completely impossible because I'm not even that old. I
It's
think.
the big 4-0, right?
Yeah, well, that's what they're saying, which I think is
Wow.
really hard for a 25-year-old to understand how I'm going to see a bunch of old people at a class reunion. So actually, it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Going to see some people I ain't seen in quite a while, and get to spend some time with the mama. So looking forward to that. And for the rest of you that are joining us on YouTube, thank you so much. I sure appreciate your support. And if you would be so kind as to do me the YouTube favors, do a couple of clickety clicks, click on the subscribe button, ring the bell so you know when we're back on the air, and like some videos, leave some comments. I'm feeling a little left out. No comments lately. So if you get a chance, drop in, leave me a comment. I'd appreciate it. Also, while you're online, you can go to my website, check it out at www.thetSWB.com. The tallskinnywhiteboy.com is what it stands for. Has been that way. I've been the tall, skinny white boy since way before the internet. So if you look up TSWB and you don't find me, I wouldn't click on it. Leave it alone. Look for the TSWB.com. There you'll find some of the stuff that I'm privileged to help people with, such as anxiety, depression, phobias, PTSD, grief. I offer corporate coaching. I work with athletes from beginner all the way up to pro level. Still doing relationship stuff. So if you know anybody that's relationship challenged, whether they are looking to get into a relationship or they want to improve the one they're in, have them reach out, give me a jingle. I do offer a free 30-minute consultation. That's right, no charge to you. And we'll chit chat. We'll talk about what you're up against, what your goals are, what you're hoping to improve in your life. And after 30 minutes, if I feel that I can help you, I'll let you know. But also, I promise you, if I feel like we're not a fit, I will let you know, and I'll do my best to find one of my colleagues to make sure that you get the change that you are looking for. There, we got through that. Now it's time to introduce the tie of the week. I've been wearing different ties every week since our first episode in 24. So this week, we're blue on black. Once again, got some poo on my tie. Little poo, little honeypot. Lots of
I think
different Lots of different poses there on our favorite cuddly bear. And if you guys have a tie that you'd like to donate to the cause, I'm all for it. I'd be happy to give you a shout out. I had 3 of them sent to me a while back. So always open to something new. And now that we got the tie introduced, anybody got anything cool they would like to share that they've enjoyed in the last 7 days since we've been here? Anybody? Yes, Michael.
2 things. I think I've seen that tie. I think it was on episode 116. My best guess, Sam. And I gave you a referral the other day, just so you know.
Huh.
So hopefully my client reached out to you because I think you could help her. So
Very cool.
Website and to reach out to you and get squared away.
Always appreciate that. Definitely
Absolutely.
willing to help anybody that knows people from the tribe. And for those of you that are out there want to save some money, I would invite you to check out lunchmoneyclub.com. Take a peek at it. See what Michael's built. Anybody else got anything? What's that?
I said it's kind of cool.
Yes, it is kind of cool. Anybody else got
world cruises? We can do a world cruise for under $10,000, 64 days.
64 days, under 10 grand. And the only people that think that's a lot of money have never priced out a world cruise.
It's amazing.
And Holly's got her hand up.
I'll share something from my last 7 days. I got to go to an event with one of my nephews and my sister and her husband and everything. And I will just say, if you are in a place where you haven't hung out with a young kid recently, highly recommend it. They just see the world through these new, fresh eyes. You know, these things that you're just like, oh, who cares about that? Oh, it's a ducky, it's a ducky. It gives you a new view on life, and it's amazing. Highly recommend it.
Very cool. And how many times did you hear the word "why" while you were out there?
Oh, quite a bit. Mm-hmm.
Real quick, do any of you know how to get a hold of Mark? He needs the meeting ID. If not, I'll take a break and I'll send it to him.
If you send me his number,
I think I have his phone number.
Yeah, thought you might. Anybody else got anything cool to share before we get on with the show? All right, well, I guess it's time to get on with the show. For those of you that are joining us for the very first time or watching the recording for the first time, it's a 2-hour show. First hour, I do my best to try and get through 3 topics that I've come up with for the night. And after the first hour is up, we change things around, and it's open mic, open platform. Anybody on the call can ask a question or bring up a topic, and I let the people on the call answer first because I like to learn as well. And after everybody has answered, if I feel like I still have something to offer, that's when I throw in my 2 centavos. So getting on with the topics of the night. Tonight's topics are people pleaser, staying, and fast forward. Jumping right into it. People pleaser. Oh my. Anybody know a people pleaser? Anybody been a people pleaser? Anybody suffered from being a people pleaser? Anybody tell themselves, I'm never going to be a people pleaser again?
Good luck with that.
Good luck with that. Um, as many of you know who have been around Planet TJ for a while, I get a lot of my topics from working with my clients, and this is one of them as well. But we're going to take this a little different direction. And one of my clients said something that really struck home. And they said, if you're a people pleaser, if you know you're a people pleaser, if you're one of those chronic people pleasers, make sure you include yourself. Numero uno, give yourself permission to be your own people pleaser. In fact, I would say that should be your number one priority. It's okay to be a people pleaser to a point. But I've seen too many people that simply allow themselves to put in all of their energy into pleasing everybody else but them. Let's see, I'm going to see if I can pull this up quick so that I can we lost Michael. I figured that was coming up. Where do we have? Don't you love Holly, I'm going to make you co-host.
Okay.
That way you can look up what the yes, I'm so good at doing three things at once. Can't find, oh, there it is. I think I found it. We're going to get Mark on the line here. Just like that. We'll see how long it takes him. Back to the show. Thank you for your patience. And where were we? Oh, yes. Making sure that you include yourself in your people-pleasing habits. Who's got some suggestions on how to make sure that that happens? Anybody? Now I got everybody. Holly.
Oh, geez. As a recovering people pleaser, so many things that I'm working on here. So first of all, I think it's important to regularly be telling yourself, oh, and now I see Mark's number in my phone. I do not know what's going on. Anyway, welcome, Mark. I was
Hi,
gonna send
guys.
you the message, but my phone just wanted TJ to have to do it. So for people pleasing, first of all, I think you got to remind yourself of that analogy. We hear it all the time, but you just got to say it constantly to yourself. Remind yourself of that analogy of, if I don't put the oxygen on myself, I can't put the oxygen on the other person. I got to do it on myself first. And I think that we don't realize, oh, my neighbor has never been able to figure out how to order dinner, let's say. I know that's extreme, but if I bring him dinner every single day, what happens to them when I die?
Yes.
I'm not helping them. I'm putting them in a precarious position. If my spouse relies on me to, get them to work on time because I have to get them dressed and I have to, all those steps, and they genuinely never learn those steps, I'm not helping them. And I think that's because I think a lot of people pleasers, we think we're helping other people. But when you actually dig underneath, we don't want to cause conflict, and we're afraid they're going to abandon us.
Yes.
And if somebody's going to abandon you, first of all, they might abandon you for being a people pleaser. That's a thing. It happens all the time. It's, I love you, but I can't handle the fact that you're a people pleaser. I can't have a real relationship with you because you're a people pleaser. So if you think that that's going to stop them from abandoning you, that's not necessarily true. And if they don't abandon you, the people who are going to stick around are the people who are probably the less healthy, the ones that want to take advantage of you, that don't want to take care of themselves, that don't want to take ownership of their own lives. And once again, you're not helping them by enabling bad behavior. So, but I think a lot of it comes down to the emotions. You've really got to dig into your own emotions and reframe. And when I say reframe, you're framing it to the correct frame, what people pleasing means. And you've got to say, do I care about the people around me enough to let them fail? Do I care enough about the people around me to have healthy boundaries so they can have a real relationship with me? Do I care enough about the people around me to make sure that I am not, I was going to say, the dying would be the extreme one, but I don't have bad health. I don't have, this long list of things, because how can I be there for them if I'm letting other people walk all over me? So another big one is just reminding yourself, when person X steals my energy for a not good reason, they're really stealing from person Y, because I don't have enough of myself to be there for that person who isn't, who's taking the right amount, who needs me to be there in a healthy way, but I'm not healthy anymore and can't be there for them.
Yeah.
So anyway, just a few thoughts.
So many good things written. You do this all the time, girl. Yes, I'm so glad that you brought up the, I call it airplane rule. You got to put the oxygen mask on yourself first. If you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. And so many people pleasers out there will sacrifice their stuff, their had the word, then a squirrel took it away. Just if they're, I know people that have suffered, gone without because they gave all their money and all of their stuff to other people. And that sounds so honorable. That's so nice. But I've also watched them go, well, I need help now. Well, what's the matter? Well, I'm broke. What'd you do with all your money? Well, the neighbor needed help, and then so and so needed help, and then at work, one of the guys I work with, his car broke down, and so I helped them out. Yeah, you helped everybody but yourself, and now you're the one in the pickle, and you find out not everybody you help is willing to reciprocate. The ones that come to you first, a lot of times, are the ones that will help you last.
Yep.
And I'll get to you in just a sec, Mark. One of the funniest things, my pops found out that I had borrowed a certain person in our town $20, who was notorious for wanting to, always asking people for money, but never pay you back. My pops was like, oh, he's never going to pay you back. And I said, yeah, I know. And he's also going to cross the street if he sees me walking down the same sidewalk to avoid me, because he knows he owes me money now. And it only cost me $20 to get him to leave me alone. And the look on my pop's face was like, what? I went, there's two ways to go about it. Mark.
Help me out, TJ. Blanking on the artist, but there was a line from a song. You can't please everyone. So you got to please yourself.
Oh, you had to put that in my head too. Yes.
Is it
Yeah.
Howell Guthrie? Is it Nielsen? I don't know, but that's what popped in.
Duncan, who sang that? You can't please everybody, but you got to please yourself. Well, it's all right now. I've learned my lesson well.
Hmm.
Can't please everybody, so you got
If
to
the
please
Guthrie
yourself.
sounds like Guthrie, I don't know.
That's. I think you're right on that one. Here we are, Triple T Music Trivia time. Thank you for joining in. If you got an answer, send it in. You'll win the prize of a clap.
Somebody Google it real quick.
Yeah, Michael, you got your hand up. What's up, buddy?
I do. So one time, as a people pleaser, hello everybody. My name is Michael, and I'm a people pleaser. And I was in Las Vegas with one of my bosses, and my boss was making, I don't know, $500,000 a year, driving a brand new Hummer, and he's taking the entire team to Vegas and on him, which is kind of cool. And so we're walking across the street, and a guy, a panhandler, said, "Hey man, can you spare $1?" And my buddy Bo, the boss, he says, "No man, but can you? I'm in a situation where I can't really do anything right now. Can you help me out?" And the guy said, "Oh no," and he walked away, kind of like your guy that you lent $20 to. And after seeing this interaction, I'm like, dude, man, what the hell? You can't. Why would you even ask him? You're making $500,000 a year, and you're asking this panhandler for $1. He says, dude, if he would have given me $1, I would have given him 50.
Yep.
And if they understand and they're willing to help me, I will gladly help them. And it's my way of testing people. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting way of testing people. And then later on, we saw somebody where he did it. Well, okay, yeah, I'll gladly gave him some money. But it was interesting seeing his thought process as not a people pleaser, what he does to see if anyone's willing to reciprocate. It was kind of cool. So anyway, I'm not suggesting that people do that, because everyone's got to find their own way, and they've got to help people out the way they want to help people out. But it was interesting to see.
And I'm glad you brought that up as well, because, living in San Diego for 15 years, there's a lot of homeless people there, but I don't like really calling them homeless. I think one guy called them people without a permanent address. Because
Well,
I found a lot of them didn't want to. They wanted to be where they were, which sounds crazy as can be. But there was a documentary put together by the El Cajon Police Department showing they had options, but chose not to,
yeah.
because they knew that there were
And
enough.
some are making really good money.
There it is. Enough people pleasers out there were taking care of them. And again, I forgot to.
Khalil Gibran. Sorry. I was going to say Khalil Gibran, the poet Khalil Gibran. He talked about it in a book called The Prophet. And he said, if you're not willing to work with love, you should be outside a church or whatever with your hand out and accepting other people's. Because if you can't work with love, you shouldn't be working.
Yeah.
And when you look at that, there's some people who that's their job, is they want to go be outside and have their hand out. My dad tried to give a guy, "Hey man, your shoes are all wore out. Let me buy you some shoes." The guy's like, "No, you'll hurt my bank account.
Yep.
I'm making more money than you are."
Yeah.
And he was pulling in about $300 grand a year, cash tax free.
Yeah.
That's not every homeless person. And again, everyone's got to
No.
find their own way and help whoever they want to help when they want to help.
Yep.
So
I used to have additional food in my work van. And when I'd pull up and they were asking for money, it was interesting that I would offer them food and they're like, I don't want food, I want money. I went, yeah, because you can't go buy certain things with a banana. And I was going to say, for those of you that are watching on YouTube or watching the recording, you guys don't have the benefit of seeing the comments. And Renee put in a comment, said, need to identify the underlying reason why you are people pleasing. An example, disappointing someone, being liked, avoiding conflict, rejection, being viewed as a selfish person. Identifying the underlying fear behind people pleasing is the first step to overcoming it. Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up, Renee. I know some people who are so deeply ingrained at non-confrontationalists. They are so afraid of the idea of confrontation gives them the heebie-jeebies. They just can't handle it. So they bow to so many people until they get so angry, and the amount of resentment that gets built up towards the people that they are people pleasing. And I've had to work with a number of them, and I'm like, then tell them no. Well, but if I, oh, that'll start a fight. That'll start an argument. You know, sometimes that's what you got to do. Sometimes you got to stop with the people pleasing. Again, you have to make sure that you are including you in the people pleasing. In fact, you should be numero de uno, number one, and let the other ones fall in place. Holly.
Oh, so many thoughts coming into my mind, so many great comments. So one thing, just several quotes have been popping into my mind. So one of them was a line, I think it's from Modern Family, where they talk about, confrontation, and they said, if you sweep everything under the carpet, you get a lumpy carpet and you're tripping over it all the time.
Yes.
A lot of us may people please to avoid the confrontation, but the confrontation doesn't go away. It gets bigger with interest when you finally decide to pay the bill. And then another thing, somebody, I can't remember where I learned this one, but I used to be the person who's like, can't ever spend anything on myself, can't ever take care of myself, because that's money I could be donating to charity, was this idea that I'd gotten in my mind. And I mean, like, to the point of, I better not ever wear makeup for this reason, I better never get a fancy dress because of this reason. And then somebody pointed out to me, somebody hires you to do work, and you're able to get the dignity of doing work, and it's something that you love. When you hire somebody to do work for you that they love, and once again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with donating money, but if you are on the other side of it, would you rather somebody hire you to do quality work that you love, or would you rather somebody give you a handout because you're in desperate circumstances that you need somebody to donate money to you? So this idea that just because we're spending money on ourselves, that's selfish. And especially, like if, say you've got a really amazing person who does your hair and you tip them nicely. How often, I know my person who did my hair, what was she doing? She was spending that money forward too. She, they adopted a kid from a difficult circumstances that they were raising. She was using it to help with that. I know she was donating to lots of causes. So, that one, and like I said, it's not a donation, but that one treating yourself can pay forward many, many, many times, because then they treat themselves and then they treat themselves and just pay it forward for good stuff. So anyway, once again, like I said, I'm not saying don't ever donate anything, but just don't think that just because you're treating yourself that automatically is not, not helping in another way. Also, something that has been coming into my mind a lot, if you ever have a lot of narcissists, and I know, there's all this, can we diagnose them as narcissists or whatever? If you want to know how narcissists look for their victims, one of the first things they do is they look for people-pleasing behavior.
Yep.
Someone who doesn't have boundaries, and they will deliberately try to cross boundaries, treat you poorly, and then ask for something and see if you'll give them something. And once again, with this situation, if you give into it, you're rewarding bad behavior, you're giving them zero incentive to become a better person, and you are robbing the people who are not like that, who could be getting to know you instead.
Yep.
And you're also robbing all of the good people in your circle that are now constantly worried about you because they know that you're with somebody dangerous and you're just giving into them and letting them walk all over you. And, every night they go to bed wondering, how your life is going and if you're going to be okay. And then also just a quote came to my mind. This is from, I think it's the Dick Van Dyke Show. I think the episode was How to Spank a Star. So Laura says, you're letting the star walk all over you. And he says, well, what do you care? It's me she's walking all over. And then Laura responds with, but to get to you, she's having to walk all over me. And that just stuck with me of how many times when you're people pleasing, because often it's the jerk that we let walk all over us that we please. And then we expect the nice person to just sit there and take it with us.
Yeah.
The number of times that you're letting somebody else get hurt by people pleasing, you may not even realize until you really look around. So.
Wow. Great stuff as always. And Renee also put another great comment and said, you need to separate your self-worth from other people's approval. Great comment. Mark.
Yeah, I was you're talking about the homeless, TJ, and giving them money. They always have a sign, unemployed, some kind of a thing about themselves. And I was watching the show, might have been a Nova, and the guy fell outside of a T-stop, and he had the sign up. He says, how much do you make in a given day? And the guy said, I don't know, about $50. He goes, I'll give you $50 if you let me change your sign. So the guy said, okay. So I gave him the $50, and he changed the sign, and he changed it to, if you've given to charity this week, thank you. Please think of me next week. And within like an hour and a half, the guy made $150 and went home.
Yep.
Because he changed the message to not about the person's personal tragedy, but about the person's generosity. So
yeah. Good stuff. What are other ways that we can make sure that we are top of the ladder on the people pleaser stuff? One of the things that I like to is, if you're such a people pleaser, take inventory of what you've done for other people so far, monetarily, time-wise, all the above, and set that amount of time and money for you just for something that you normally wouldn't do as a reward. And you're not stealing it from somebody else. Like, oh, I was going to give $10, but that's all I can do. And if I take that $10, then I can't give $10 to them. You know what? You're worth the $10. And you could tell yourself the story about how they were going to do good things with the $10. Or maybe they were just going to go to Burger King and you can go somewhere better with the same $10. And it doesn't mean that you simply go, you're not worth it. There, get away. Rah. You can bless them. You can say a silent prayer for them. You can wish them well, send them good energy, and then turn around and do the exact same thing for yourself. It doesn't always have to be time or money. Any other ahas, epiphanies, comments before we change gears? Yes, no, maybe so. We're going to slide right into our next topic of staying. And there's lots of different ways this could be taken. Could be, stayed alive, stay. No, that's not the one, but this one also came from one of my clients, and it's about relationships. And everybody seems to have a different reason why they're going to stay. And one of my clients who graduated from Triple P protocol, the Perfect Partner Protocol, is actually who brought this up to me. And they said they had finally reached to the point where the relationship that they are currently in isn't it isn't flawless. It isn't, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. They're still having some challenges because, of course, they're humans in their natural environment and doing the best they can. But my client told their partner, the difference in the two of us right now is I'm staying because I love you, and you're staying because you're afraid of losing me. It's kind of like that old adage, are you in it to win? Are you playing to win? Or are you playing to not lose? And when my client said this to their partner, they said the look on their face was like, well, what? And they really had to evaluate how they were approaching the idea of staying. Why were they staying? And I hear, with all the people that I work with, all the different reasons that they've stayed in a relationship, and guess how much of it is people pleasing? Guess how much of it is putting the other person first? Another top reason why I hear people staying in relationships is, for the children. We got kids, we gotta stay together for the children. Now I know I'm gonna get some flack on this, and for those of you that stop typing, hear me out. The kids know. Doesn't matter how amazing actors you two are, and you put on the happy smiley face and everything's perfect and all the above, and you only say screw you when you meet each other in the hallway. The kids know. And especially in this day and age, it's not like the big shameful drama, scary thing that it was, back in the 50s. Oh my gosh, did you hear they got, something must have happened. The poor children are going to be mortified and forever. Michael.
Do you know what it's called when you walk down the hall and you flip off your partner and they flip you off?
All sex.
All sex, baby.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
We're from the old school. Come on, we know what it is.
Yep. Yeah, and I've had clients come to me that were at the point of they've moved from house sex to room sex to hall sex, and they a lot of it had to do with people pleasing, being a non-confrontationalist, and forgetting why they were staying in the relationship. A lot of them were staying as though they were playing not to lose. Worried about what other people would think, worried about financials, what this and that. I had one client that their love had pretty much fizzled out a decade ago. And both of them were miserable, but they were so stubborn that the other person was not going to get the stuff. They had a nice property, they had this and that. Both of them had 401ks, and they had put together some savings, and they were not going to let the other person get it. Instead of working towards a solution and trying to figure out a way that they could improve what they had, the longer they stayed for the wrong reason, the more resentment set in. And I've talked on this a number of times in relationships, and even like in business, which is also a relationship, working relationship, all that stuff. Resentment is that cancer that starts real easy, real small, and feeds off of anything, and the bigger it gets, the more it sees, and the more it sees, the bigger it gets. The more opportunity it can find to feed on something, the stronger it gets. And for a lot of people, if you reference Chinese medicine, especially ladies, Chinese medicine has pointed out that a lot of and now I'm not a doctor and I'm not a Chinese doctor at all. You can look this up. There's plenty of references that you can look up on the internet. Stop typing. But a lot of, especially women who are suffering from fibromyalgia, very, very often have a lot of anger and resentment in their body. And I've worked with a number of them. And Michael.
Catholics, as an example. Women will hold their stress in their chest.
Yes, chest and stomach.
Exactly. So it's the same thing. So you're 100%.
Yeah. And back to the topic of staying, what is it costing you to stay for the wrong reasons? And again, I'm not just talking marriages or relationships, I'm talking about jobs, friendships, tribes. You have to be willing to take a step back so that you can see the picture in front of you. What is it costing you? And what would it cost you to fix it, to get it to where it isn't costing you? Now, I've got a number of clients, and I'm not a licensed marriage family practitioner. And so when I get clients, I've had a number of couples come to me because of a referral from somebody else I'd worked with. And I said, I do not work with couples, I work with individuals. I will work with both of you separately. And you will not hear what the other person said, because we're not working on your relationship. We are working on you so that you can show up better in the relationship. And I've talked about this before. I've had a couple of them that worked their stuff out and made it. And I've had a couple of them that, after working with me, they realized they had just grown into two different people. And they were able to separate on good terms as best friends. They were just like, I love you, I just can't, I don't, I don't love you any less, but I can't love you anymore, to quote a Lyle Lovett song. They were still in love with each other, but it was the old version. I'm in love with the person I married, and I don't know who you are today. And that's why I can't stay. And going with the idea of jobs. So many things can change in jobs, and why do people stay in jobs? Well, what if I can't find another job? But I like it here. Then why are you complaining so much? Well, I like it here except for all the bad stuff that I talk about every day. And I've got my retirement and my 401k and all the above. But it's killing you. Well, but it's a slow death. Michael.
I tried to put this in the chat, but I couldn't because my chat's not working currently. But
That's okay.
you don't know you're in hell until you get out.
Yes. And how do you cook frogs?
Just slowly turn up the temperature.
Yeah, put them in nice water, and they think it's a wonderful bath, and they're hanging out, and you just keep adding a little temperature until they're cooked. And if you go to my website and click on the About Me tab and open up the PDF, you'll find out. I've had a lot of different jobs, and it wasn't because I'm gonna say it's not because I'm a bad employee, because there's a number of my employers that have wanted me back. And some of it was simply because I traveled a lot and had this weird addiction to sleeping indoors and eating. I wasn't afraid to take on a job, but I wasn't afraid to keep looking for a better one. Holly.
Can you hear
You
the
there?
microphone? I think my, oh, you know what? I just,
Jeez, can you hear me?
There you are. Woo!
Technical difficulties, I swear. um, so a few thoughts here. First of all, I'm so glad you said this is, could apply to all relationships. So it could be a friendship, it could be a job, whatever it may be. A few thoughts that I had. First of all, I think we need to remember that any relationship is a negotiation, not a court case. A lot of times I think we come in and one that pops into my head is, how many times have I heard, a woman say, I've told him 100 times he needs to pick up his socks. And the first thing I think is, has he ever agreed to pick up his socks? Are you his boss? Do you get to dictate? This is a negotiation. I'm not saying it's not a legitimate thing to ask for, but it's one thing to tell, it's another thing to ask. And then also, a lot of times people will come in and they'll say, oh, we're not splitting our work 50-50, and now I'm going to lay out all the evidence. That's what you do in a court case, not in a negotiation. And when we look at it from the perspective of a negotiation, first of all, you need to know your non-negotiables. What is non-negotiable and what is negotiable?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have never actually sat down and said, this is what actually matters when all is said and done. And because they don't know their non-negotiables, they don't know when to walk away. And, one of the first rules of negotiation is, no deal is better than a bad deal. And
Yes.
a lot of people forget that. And once again, I'm not saying give up on relationships and they're not worth effort. Because another thing to remember too is the Gottmans did research and they said 60% of problems in the best relationships will never be solved. The question is, how do you handle those issues that can't be solved? And are they your non-negotiables? So an example they give is, let's say a family, you've got a husband and wife, and the wife thinks she needs to be to church 15 minutes early, and the husband thinks it's better to be 15 minutes late. Well, maybe they can never get there where they're going to church at the same time, but maybe the way they get around it is they say, you know what? You go when it's comfortable for you. I'll go when it's comfortable for me, and the kids can choose who they go with. Something like that, just as an example. The analogy that the Gottmans uses, he said, if you have a bad knee, would you amputate your leg because of it?
Right.
There's some things that are non-negotiable. If my leg is got gangrene, I might have to amputate it. But just because I've got a finicky knee doesn't mean I'm going to. So another thing is, I think a lot of people struggle with this. It's possible for a person to be a good person, but not be a good fit.
Yes.
And I think this a lot of times happens. We have that friend that's from elementary school, and we had the best times then, but we just, timing wise, phase of life wise, interest wise, it's just not a good fit for us to be spending tons of time together. And we're trying to force it. We're trying to hold on because we feel this guilt that if I say we shouldn't be friends anymore, it means I'm saying you're a bad person. And I know you're not a bad person. You're this great person. And one of the thoughts that came to my mind too is, we think about that castle analogy. I don't necessarily have to completely evict you from the grounds either. I could just say, you know what? You were in one of the central rooms. It's not really a good fit anymore, but you're welcome on the grounds anytime you want. If you want to come once a month for the feast, great. It's just maybe a different role is needed now. And that could be true for a job too. Maybe it's an excellent employer. It's just not a good fit. And it's okay to say it's not a good fit. That doesn't make you a bad person. But then, of course, so know your non-negotiables, but also make sure for everything else, are you communicating it? And it matters, do they care? So if you say, I have this non-negotiable need, and they just dismiss you and say, I'm not going to work on it, that's very different than I have this non-negotiable need, and they say, I get that's important, I'm willing to put the effort in, but it might take me a minute to get there. Yep. So, always look at that. And then just a reminder for relationships, remember that the 4 horsemen the Gottmans talk about are contempt, criticism, defensiveness, and stonewalling. Anytime you find, now you can't control the other person, you can notice it, but anytime you notice yourself creeping into any of those, note that it's poisoning the relationship and it's time to take a pause and say, is it because this isn't a good fit? Is it because I need to look inside myself and change something? Is it because maybe now once again, if it's a bad fit, you can let them go, but maybe they are a bad person. That does happen. Or maybe they're just toxic to you. So it's okay to say that. It's okay to acknowledge that too. And the biggest one is contempt. And that contempt is, I'm going to assign, you didn't pick up your socks. It's not because you forgot. It's not because it's a low priority. It's because you're an evil person who wants to hurt me. That's when contempt comes in. It's when you're assigning a moral failing to it. So you think you're morally superior. And then just one other thing is, if it is time to end it, back to that analogy of sweeping the stuff under the rug until it's lumpy and you're tripping over it. If you end it now, it's better for both people, because otherwise you're just paying with interest on the sunk cost. An example I heard recently was somebody was talking about that they were in a relationship of convenience. It was a dating relationship. And they'd been together for several years, and it wasn't until they overheard the other person saying, I guess you should start shopping for engagement rings, that she realized, I don't want to be married to this person, and I've been dragging them along for 3 years. I could have been looking for my person, they could have been looking for their person.
Exactly.
It's not their bad person, it was a bad fit, and she wasted both of their time, and she wouldn't have if she'd ended it earlier.
And you, young lady, I think you've been looking at my notes, because you were talking on the last topic quite a bit. And I'm going to see what Mark has to say, and then we'll see if we can fit the last topic in the last couple of minutes. Mark.
Yeah, I was just going to reinforce what Holly said. Dr. Gottman, he said that contempt will kill a relationship in less than a year. And he used to go to, when he was in New York City, he'd go to like coffee shops and he'd listen for contempt. You can always know when I'm going to hurt you, but I don't care that I'm hurting you. And he'd introduce himself and give him his business card and ask him if they'd stay in touch. And the reliability was 90. When he heard contempt, 92% of the time, those two people were not together within a year. So I'm just reinforcing what Holly said, is that contempt will kill a relationship in less than a year. 92% of the time. So,
Now,
that was all.
Holly, what were you saying about classmates? Do you remember?
About that you were best friends in elementary school and you dragged the relationship on forever and ever, trying to force something that's not there anymore just because you don't want to say the other person's a bad person?
Well, our last topic is fast forward. And that one came up because I have a reunion that I'm going to this weekend. And with the people pleaser and staying, I thought it was interesting that a bunch of us are getting together, and some of us have stayed in touch enough to know who the other person has become. But there's going to be a number of people there that we haven't seen since the last reunion, which was in 2006. A lot of water has passed under the bridge since then, and we've got a number of our classmates who are no longer with us. So it's going to be interesting to see the fast forward of who they become and who they're going to try to be for the people that are showing up. I know I kind of get a kick out of going to these things, mainly because I've had enough of my classmates admit that they figured that I would be a mechanic in my little hometown of Meltona, Minnesota, population 187 when I graduated, and probably married a couple of times and a couple of kids. They never guessed that I would be able to accomplish the things that I've been blessed enough to accomplish. And yet we also have some of the, and I'm sure everybody's had it, if you look back and you had those classmates and those friends that you just knew they were going to do miraculous, huge things. The captain of the football team and the captain of the cheerleading squad, and and all the above, and you just knew that they even got it in the yearbook, most likely to succeed. And then life smacked them in the face, and they rode along with it. And so it's going to be interesting, like you say, to see who's going to be the people pleasers there, and who are going to be the ones that have reached their potential, who have gone beyond expectations, and find out where we're all at now. But that takes us right to, well, we're just past the top of the hour, which means it is now time to change up, and it's open mic, open platform. Anybody on the call can bring up a question or a topic, and I'm going to let the people on the call answer first. And if I feel there's anything that I can offer after that, that's when I'll toss in my 2 centavos. So who's got the first question or topic of the night? Anybody? Anybody got a topic or a question we can mark?
Okay, before my computer dies, I figured I'd get in this question. I was watching something from Scott Sandlin at HypnoThoughts, and he announced a new AI assistant called Sage, and it got me thinking about, again, will AI progress to the point where it can do therapy or hypnotherapy? So I asked my little AI buddy that comes on whenever I use DuckDuckGo. I said, can AI do with therapy? And the AI said no. So it's the strength of the relationships, the rapport, the knowledge that you have of the other, but I thought I'd get at people's input. If AI progresses any farther, is it possible that, that AI will, be able to do hypnosis, hypnotherapy, therapy, whatever, with people? I thought it was I'd like to get other people's input.
Cool. Great question. Holly, right up there to answer.
Definitely a great question. So my first thought is, if you're talking about, we currently have hypnosis tracks, the CDs people can buy, and then that hypnotist that never puts their eyes out of the script and they just stare at the script and read down. Yeah. I think AI definitely can do that. What AI can't do is what we do, where, first of all, it's not going to be able to get, it's not going to be able to get rapport, have a good state. It's not ever going to be able to lead them out of a state from a rapport sense. And the other thing that it can't do, I don't believe, is track the client and actually adjust to them. So yes, I think if you're just going through the motions, AI can go through the motions. Anything that a pre-recorded hypnosis track can do, AI one day will be able to do. That doesn't mean that it can connect with a person on a visceral level, really listen to them, and help guide them in a customized journey that actually pays attention to them.
Good answer. Anybody else got a answer? Michael had to leave. He's got a floor project that he's got to try and complete before it gets too late, so gonna miss his input. And Lenora is with the trainer with her puppy. She may be joining us on the ride back, but won't be able to do too much. So it's us right now. in my two centavos on this is right in line with what Holly's saying. Yes, I can see AI being able to quickly research scripts from all the best hypnosis therapists and stuff like that, and be able to karaoke their patterns and their ideas. And I believe that that will help a certain amount of people, especially if they are simply looking for ideas. And it, you know, there's enough stuff on YouTube that is very static, but you've got the beta theta beats and all of this, and then you can get somebody who's done the pre-recorded and stuff like that, and a lot of people will get results from that. They'll get some sort of result, and they'll most likely get what they were looking for. One of the things that I think will be our advantage is when you have us being humans dealing with humans in their natural environment, we can have that connection that makes us go, I think there's something deeper in there. I think there's something just, I'm getting this vibe that we have to go a little deeper. And I don't see that happening with AI. Any comments, ahas, epiphanies on that? Holly.
Another thought I had, so I don't know how much any of you play with AI, but I like to play with AI to see what its limitations are, what it's capable of doing, that sort of thing. And sometimes I'll ask it, shall we say, therapy type questions. And I've noticed it could be very hit or miss. Sometimes it gives me an answer that's spot on, but sometimes it gives me answers that if I were in a vulnerable state would be very dangerous.
Yes.
And so can AI do it? Might it one day package it? Yes. Would I ever trust AI to work on me? I would have to see some significant improvements in the technology, and I don't know if it could get there because, once again, it doesn't have a soul, so to speak, to track things. So it's just doing the best it can to pull a little bit from here, pull a little bit from here, and put it together and hope it works. And sometimes it does, but sometimes it can be outright dangerous. And hypnosis is so vulnerable. I would absolutely not want AI unless I gave it very, very, very clear instructions that I had trained it and I knew what its limitations were. I wouldn't want to just say, hey, give me a hypnosis script. So even just the training the AI to keep it safe requires, I think, somebody who knows what they're doing.
And I fully agree. We've already got a couple of documented cases where one family is going after an AI company because their son got into AI and was asking it for advice and stuff like that. And they have the script from that interaction, and AI suggested that they take their life, and unfortunately the kid thought it was a good idea and did it, and was unfortunately successful. And so, yes, there is that dangerous part as well. Now, have there been unscrupulous hypnotists? Of course, because again, we're human. But I think it's a little bit more of the human spirit inside of it that, you know, even if you're going to another human and a human tells you something like that, I think I would like to believe that you would have a little better chance of going, you know, something don't feel right. And Renee put in a great comment where she said, AI is pulling a lot of its information from the dumpster fire of the World Wide Web. I would not go there. Yes, amen. You look at some of the stuff that's out there online. I wouldn't want that in the classroom mix for AI. Mark.
I know that, again, people do, you know, what they do differently, but when somebody comes into my office, you know, I always try to see them as better than they are. So I'm
Yes.
using my imagination. Okay. Now AI doesn't have an imagination, so all it can do is work with, you know, what's presented, and you know, it doesn't read tonality or body language. It's just functioning on because it's a large language model. Um, and I guess, like Holly said, you make a connection with your therapist, and you know, you're putting your energy um, out there. And you know, I tell people all, if you can't see yourself as being better, know that I do, and try to walk a mile. You know, use your imagination to walk a mile in my moccasins. Um, so yeah, we get to use our imagination to imagine our people as better than they are, stronger, more capable, dealing with you know, their issues, you know, proactively. So we have to use our imagination quite a bit, and then how we get there is going to be based on, you know, our training and what we've been exposed to, what we've found works. And you know, and it's like you said, it's kind of like you know, again, having a for every person, it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be tailored to that person. Where, you know, you're gonna, with AI, you get a, you know, an off the rack suit. You know, everything will be the same, and there won't be any, you know, changes or upgrades. You know, unless, you know, like I said, you're never gonna create an AI that's intuitive.
Well, and I think one of the great little comments that you put in there was being able to tell the other person, I I truly want the best for you. And I don't know if it's going to change with generations or whatever, but hearing it from a machine versus hearing it from another human being, in my mind, it has to land a little differently. You know, kind of like those creepy little Teddy Ruxpin dolls. I love you. You are my friend. Versus hearing that from somebody your age that you know, or even if you don't know, at least it's another human. And I would have to believe that it A wouldn't sound quite as creepy, but B would land in a much better place. Any other ahas, comments, epiphanies on this topic, or did you get the answer you were looking for, Mark?
Oh yeah, I'm just, like I said, the question occurred to me. Like I said, after I heard Scott, and you know, again, it's a great tool. Um, you know, you know, to maybe remind us of things we've forgotten in terms of our training, our experience. But I think it will always remain a tool.
Yep. Well, I'm glad you brought it up. But that means that we are now open for another question or topic. So who's got a question or topic for us? Come on, I know you guys have books and notebooks of questions and stuff to chit chat about. So, or is this one of those? I had 700 questions this week, and now the squirrel ran away with all of them, and I can't think of one right now. Mark.
I probably have some more questions, but I'm at 18% on my, and I don't have my charger for my laptop, so I'm going to have to say goodnight. Great to see you all, and we will further consult, shall we say. So
All
have a
right.
good evening, folks.
Thank you for your time. See you next week. Tell everyone I said hi.
Yes, sir. Take care.
All right, bye. Okay. The numbers are dwindling. Who's got a question for us? I'm shocked. Renee brought up a question. Has anyone gone through the Monroe Institute? If so, how did you like HemiSync, and did you use it with your clients? Who's got an answer for her? I hate to say it, but I have not. So I can't even throw in my 2 centavos other than the fact that I have not gone through that. Holly, did you do any of that?
No, I think I've heard of them in like the back of my mind, but oh, the binaural beats. That I didn't do it through the Monroe Institute. I just kind of found out about those online. So I will say I have heard that it's actually the, gosh, what's the other one? Starts with a T. The other beats.
You had
I heard.
Yes.
I can't think of what it's called. My mind just blanked. If
Yeah.
somebody thinks of it, let me know. It's I've heard that though whatever the one that starts with a T is actually more effective. But I have tried binaural beats. Oh, theta beats. No, it don't think it's theta. Maybe it is. Maybe it feels like it starts with try or something. Why? It's gonna drive me crazy. I have tried making some tracks with them though, and it is kind of interesting. I've gotten kind of hit or miss to the point that I honestly can't tell you if it's just, I've been primed to believe it might work and so it helps, or maybe it helps in certain circumstances but not others. But I do think it's a lot of fun to play with. So if anybody ever wants to, if you have Audacity, it's really interesting to put in. So I'll have to look up what the numbers are. But the binaural beats, as I recall, they kind of go back and forth between your headphones. So you could put, and there's a specific way that you do it. But the other kind, what you do is you have kind of a beat underneath that every so many seconds or something, or milliseconds. I have it written down somewhere. I got to look it up. That you've got some kind of pulsating beat going on that entrains you. And there's a different range for where you want somebody to go. So there's one range if you want somebody in alpha state, one range if you want somebody, in theta, delta, all those different states. So the first step is you have to figure out what state you even want somebody to be in, because it might matter. And one thing I will say that seems to be, and once again, this is just, I've only done very limited with this, but one of the things that seems to help me is actually fractionation. Because a lot of people just say, oh, I just want to get people straight into delta or something like that, or I just want to get people straight into theta. But I think if you get somebody, okay, we're going to take you into alpha, then we're going to take you all the way down to delta, and then we're going to bring you back up to alpha, that sort of thing. For me, that seems to be more effective to do fractionation than it is to just get somebody down there, which might be true for regular hypnosis in general, assuming that, of course, I'm talking about the right thing. I'm going to see if I can find the name of that other kind of beat that it is. I will also say this, too. If you're ever doing them, no, it's extremely important to be wearing headphones while you're listening to them. Because a lot of times people will think they're going to get the benefit just listening to, regular, speakers on your computer. You're not going to get the same effect.
Yeah.
I'll let other people talk if they know anything.
As an audio tech, I can validate that. Before I learned some stuff from Steve Ream in conversational hypnosis, I used a lot of different sound effects, and I've got some binaural tracks saved on my computer, and so I played around with that, used them, had great success, and kind of got away from it mainly because of the technical attention that it took. Oh, isochronic. There you go. Yes. But the only reason that I got away from it, like I say, was just the additional layers of added tech. And I'm so thankful to Steve Ream that teaching me how to utilize just standard conversational hypnosis. I do have a couple of clients that still prefer the idea of putting on the headphones and putting in some spatial music, some binary beats, some theta and delta to help them relax even more. And there are a number of people that will create audio tracks for their clients for different things, stuff that their clients can listen to when they're getting ready for bed. They can run it on a loop all night and let those suggestions sink even deeper into their subconscious. So there's lots of great uses for that technology. Any other ahas, epiphanies, comments? Holly.
So now that I've actually found my stuff, so for the isochronic beats, or isochronic tone, I think is actually what it's called. And these are just things I've heard suggested. I've very limited use of them. But first of all, one of the things they recommend, if you're going to put them on, say, a hypnosis tape, go ahead and get one of those apps that will give you, there are a couple apps out there that you read to them for a few minutes, and they will give you the average pitch of your voice.
Yeah.
And so you can add a layer to it by creating, this isochronic tone that's going to be at your average voice, so it's actually in sync and it's helping. They can be pretty quiet, but if you want another way to make it so it's not so jarring to have it there, another thing you could do is, come up with find a song and pitch correct it to that same pitch. And this can all be done on computers. Because if you have it there and it's not in the same, pitch general, if it's not in the same combination of pitches, it's going to really stand out. Sorry, it just reminds me of a tabernacle organist who they had a pipe broken and he had to play around that pipe until he could fix the pipe. Anyway, and people may already have this, but and this is just a Google search, so hopefully these are right. If you want people to be in gamma, you want to be above 30 hertz, and that's when you want people to be heightened focus. Beta is 13 to 30 hertz, and this is going to be, staying alert and active, but, not like that super focused, hyper focused, maybe ADHD type focus. Alpha is going to be 8 to 12 hertz, and this is just, relaxed but alert, good for light meditation. And then theta is 4 to 8 hertz, and delta is below 4 hertz. So these are obviously when you want people to get into sleep or even get into, states that might be considered deeper than sleep. I will say I agree with David that, a lot of people are like, oh, I got to go all the way down to the bottom. I think you could get change in any of the above. I don't, they have different purposes, different reasons. Like I said, fractionation for me seems to be a good idea. I think people overuse delta, but that doesn't mean you don't ever use delta. So
Yes.
once again, just kind of use it for what your purpose is. And I will say too, it may seem daunting, but if you have Audacity, all you do is you record your track on one, and then it's just all math. You just put in another track underneath it that is whatever pitch you are for whatever frequency you want it to be at. So anyway, yeah, just some thoughts on that.
Good stuff. And yes, I know that Dr. David has used them. I had 4 or 5 tracks that when we were doing change work, especially in classes to help students learn quicker, I would run some of those tracks in the background. And it was always cool having the students come up afterwards going, dude, that was so cool. I just zoned out, but I could hear everything. And okay, so where do I get those tracks? And they're available. You can find them online, especially in the hypnosis community. There's lots of different suppliers for that. So if you're looking for it, you can certainly find it out there. Holly.
Sorry, that just made me think of one other thing. Yes, isochronic beats could be great, but something else I found, if you can find a way to add angst and energy cycling beats to anything you're doing, I actually personally have found a lot more power in those than in binaural or isochronic or anything else. So once again, it might just be because that's what I'm used to, what I learned first, who knows, but that might be something fun to play around with too.
Yeah. Cool. Anybody else got any ahas, comments, epiphanies they'd like to share? Renee?
Yeah, what's the difference between the Bankston and like the binaural beats? I guess the question's for Holly.
Okay, and once again, if anybody else knows better, feel free. So the Bankston is something that starts slower. It starts really, really slow.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, I've only ever really made my homemade ones on it. But yeah, basically it just gets faster and faster, kind of almost at a exponential rate. So that by the end, it's going really, 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 really fast. And I mean, you could do it very quietly so that nobody can hear it. But when I use it, I like to tie it to what I'm doing. So I'll start with a technique that has maybe a little bit slower of a beginning. So let's say you're doing gray room, just as an example. They come in, they get to know the room. And then as they're working through, the way I like to do gray room is when they burn whatever it is that they're releasing, I also have all of the energy that was trapped by whatever that thing is now released, and it starts swirling around the room. And so basically, as it gets faster and faster and faster with those clicks, I'm also speeding up a little bit with my energy, with my voice. And for me, that's representing we've got more and more layers of energy that are swirling around the room, and they're swirling faster. So it's not going to work with every single technique. And the binaural, like I said, if I remember correctly, hopefully feel free to correct me if I've got this wrong, but that one is just basically it takes the sound in your headset and it puts it so that it moves. You've got a sound that's moving from the left to the right, back to the left, to the back to the right kind of situation. So you absolutely have to have headphones for the binaural beats. Apparently isochronic, you do not for sure have to have headphones because that's just it's a solid beat that's repeating underneath, just at whatever frequency you're having it go at. And that's usually just a solid tone for most people. They don't have it go up in pitch and down in pitch. It just kind of stays at one pitch. Although you could have it go up and down, I suppose. I haven't really experimented with that. But yeah, like I said, the Bankston, The Bankston would have to be a little bit more in the background because unless I'm actually doing Bankston or I'm doing something that I'm modeling on Bankston. So I might model, what's it called, Womb of Eternity or something. I sometimes will model that on a Bankston kind of pattern.
Yep.
But that's me basically, once they do the technique, I have them repeat it. And a lot of that is based on TJ's Wham Bam Grey Room Slam. I stole from that, so, and you could explain that if you want, but
You borrowed.
okay. Borrowed, modeled, whatever.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought up the distinction, like you said, Holly, with Bankston. It's almost like back in the day when we would put a playing card on the spokes of the bicycle, and you just start off slow and get the images and the process, and just speed it up until it's going so fast that your subconscious just basically checks out and allows it to get through the gatekeeper to the conscious. And with the binaural beats, having the different frequencies flow back and forth on headphones is another way to get your subconscious to kind of go, I think I'm just going to check out for a while, and it's another way to get these programs, these thoughts, these suggestions easier into the conscious. Now, I haven't worked with isochronic much, so I don't have a whole lot of information to share there, but what's been shared, I agree with. Which I guess, did that answer what you were looking for out of that, Renee?
Yeah, I was just curious that was the first time I had a hypnosis session, which was many years ago. That's what and it dawned on me what he's doing now, looking back. But it had a lot of the beats in the background, and I was wearing the headset, and
Yep.
and I'm like, I really haven't experienced that since. However, I know a lot of times when you go to these sessions, a lot of times there's music in the background, and I'm pretty sure that's getting played. Maybe not at an audible level, but there's been certain courses I've gone into, and within 5 minutes, I'm like, oh, I'm awfully relaxed. And he hasn't done anything yet, so I'm pretty sure something's playing in the background.
I may not have done that a couple of times, but there's a good chance that I may have picked out some particular music for learning. Holly.
Not that TJ would know or anything. It's not like he runs the sound for things. One other thing I'll throw out there for these things, I think a lot of people who are new to it think all they have to do is slap, a sound on a hey, Fran, yeah. We'll slap a sound on a track and boom, it's good.
Yeah.
But if you can match what is there to what you're doing, it's always going to be more powerful. And if you put something on there that is, what's the word? Kind of like the opposite, if it goes against what you're doing. So like if you're doing Bankston and you've got this Bankston track getting faster and faster and faster and faster and faster, I like to do that as loops, and any beat is kind of a loop in a way. If you're doing that, that's great. But if you're getting slower and slower and slower, and in the back you've got this track going faster and faster and faster, it might actually make the experience extremely jarring. Or if you have this isochronic tone that is at a what is it called? A tritone to whatever your voice is at. And it just, it could create we've been trained for the tritone sound to mean something in our system. So Yeah, I would just say be mindful if you could stack what you're doing so it matches each other. No matter what you're doing, it's always going to be more powerful. And most importantly, just make sure it's not contradicting itself. Just like if you were making a movie, you want the light and the music and the speed and the pacing, the dialogue. You want everything to line up, not fight with each other.
Yes. And Fran, to bring you up to speed, where you're talking about the question was if people have been using binaural beats, uh, things with isochronic uh, sounds, and so did you have any experience with that? That was part of the question.
Like Holly was saying, that I heard that you've got to get it balanced, otherwise it's really uncomfortable.
Yes. Well, if we don't have any more comments on that, Fran, you wouldn't have happened to bring along a question or a topic for us, would you?
I can bring along a problem.
Okay.
Suggestions of how to manage extreme food sensitivities. I've heard some people have success with things like fast phobia technique. Who else has got anything that can help? Because I've got a lot of extreme food sensitivities that I need to wind back. I think I'm on the right track, but everything will help. Thank you.
Food sensitivities. Renee.
Just a quick question. What do you know what's setting you off by any chance?
I am suspecting that the background problem is actually viral, as in even, a recurrence of Epstein-Barr virus. That's I have got multiple food sensitivities at the moment that give me either migraine or heart symptoms, either tachycardia or arrhythmias. If I stay away from them, I am healthy as, but there are so many that it's really encroaching on my lifestyle at the moment. And I'm really afraid to eat anything.
I feel you. I've got a lot of sensitivities. I typically do not go out to eat at all. And I've determined one of them is vegetable oil. Like I can't do the corn oil, I can't do the vegetable oil. I mean, it's olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil. So that's been a big one with me. There is a diet that I went on, and it's called the Fat Flush, and it's by Ann Lewis. I'm going to kill her last name here, Gittleman, and I'll put it in the chat. I went on that, and the thing is it's all about, losing weight, but really what it was a detox for your body. And so the book was real interesting, but I mean, it removed everything. No dairy, no sugars, no processed foods. I mean, you're just essentially, vegetables, fruits, a little bit of meat. And then cranberry juice was like a big part of the first 2 weeks. And I have to say, after I did that, I mean, I did lose a lot of weight the first go around, but it cleared up my brain fog, like substantially. I'm not saying it is fun, but it did help.
Thank you for that. And well done, you. That is so good. But at the moment, I am eating eggs and salmon. That's it. And that's very restrictive. Oh, and milk, full fat milk. I've lost about 12 kilos in how many months? Since October, which is good in itself, but I really would like to be able to start eating other foods with confidence and not having either migraines or heart symptoms happening, because they're really uncomfortable and debilitating, or some of them are.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting to hear other people's ways of dealing with it. At the moment, I can't eat certainly broccoli, which I used to be able to eat fairly safely.
Huh. Holly's got her hand up.
There's so many different ways to approach this, and I'm definitely looking forward to hearing everybody else's feedback on this too, because as some of you probably know, I have tons of food sensitivities myself. So first of all, I will throw out there, like, so that there's the hypnosis type emotional approach, but there's also the scientific, what food are you actually putting in your body kind of approach. And I don't know if you know this, but Jordan Peterson and his daughter Michaela Peterson have major food sensitivities, and they have discovered the thing they need to eat is basically steak and nothing else. Steak and water. I think they drink water as well. But I had an elimination diet that was recommended to me by I think it was actually my physical therapist. It's a leaky gut elimination diet. And for like 3 weeks, all you're allowed to have is bone broth. And then you just slowly start adding things in and see how you react so you can identify. We do have, because I work at a lab, we have a lot of allergen testing that you can do. My doctor says that she doesn't think the allergen testing itself is that useful, but I don't know, so maybe look into that. I don't think we'd do it if it was completely useless, but who knows? And then because another thing I was told is, if you test not allergic, but maybe just under allergic, that might be a sensitivity level. But on the emotional side, so, and TJ may be going to share all this, I don't know. TJ's done some really creepy things with me. So like cumin, I'm really, really, really sensitive to cumin. And then TJ had me eat cumin and I was fine. So it's still messing with my head to this day. But when I looked into it emotionally, I realized, now granted, I think the first time it still was a food sensitivity. But what happened is, I grew up in a family where I couldn't articulate what was happening. And I think my parents thought I was just trying to be a picky eater who didn't want to eat the hard work they slaved over. And so they would basically force me to eat it. It became a battle of wills. And so I think I internalized all those emotions to cumin of, you're forcing me to eat this food that I'm going to, go for probably at least 72 hours with all this internal swelling. And I can't articulate what's going on. I just know I'm in pain. And I know, even just the smell of it can sometimes set me off. And so I think I took a lot of that into, the battle of like my will not being acknowledged. And so I think if you can, regress to cause and give yourself, the words and recognize, my parents didn't know it was a food sensitivity. They thought they were dealing with just a picky eater. Like it wasn't even nefarious. It was, they were trying to do the right thing and teach me, what I should. And that might be part of why, with TJ, it didn't hurt as much. Something that TJ uses a lot that seems to work for me is, slowing down your eating and really paying attention to the food and saying, how was this cooked? What ingredients are in here? And there's something about being more at one with my food and closer to it. I feel closer emotionally, and it seems less likely to trigger me when I do that, which is very interesting to me. And then I think it's Marissa Peer, actually, where I got this one, but I could be wrong. But she talked about how many non-food substances we have in our food these days.
Yes.
And so something she recommended, and one that she gave me that I did not believe, I had to go look it up myself. She said, Wendy's chili, which, is obviously an American restaurant, but Wendy's chili, one of its number one ingredients is is sand. So I looked it up because I didn't believe it. Yeah, one of the top ingredients is silicon dioxide, which is the chemical formula for sand. So what she recommended doing, if you want to know foods that your body is saying, no, I don't like that food, don't put me in there. It was a form of muscle testing. So, whether it's muscle testing, whether you prefer to use a pendulum, whatever it is, put the food in your hand, ask your body, is this something that you want that makes me feel healthy, or is this something that hurts me, or is it neutral? And just get that reading. And that way you don't have to eliminate every single thing in your diet. You can, ask your subconscious mind one by one. But also recognize just because it's bad for me today doesn't mean it's going to be bad for me tomorrow. And just because it was bad for me tomorrow doesn't mean it's bad for me today. Check in regularly. But yes, I do think that, because also, I experience Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is basically, the immune system is attacking my thyroid. And I have noticed a lot of my sensitivities and my inflammation is a generic, my body attacking itself. And there is an emotional component to that. We talked about people pleasing a lot today. Why do I think that I'm not worth it and that everybody else is worth it? Why is it that I put myself last? Why is it that, when I'm the square peg in the round hole, instead of yelling at society for not finding me a square hole, I beat myself up for being a square peg, and I'm still working on that, obviously. But I have noticed in general, food sensitivities across the board do better when I'm loving myself, when I'm acknowledging myself, when I'm letting my needs count, which, talking about that cumin, when I don't have somebody telling me you're bad, you're going to do what we say, when I have my agency, when I have, control of my life and I'm choosing to eat it because I want to, that's very, very different than I'm choosing it because I feel guilt or because I want to make somebody else happy. So anyway, I will turn it over to others, but those are a few things that help me.
Well, can I answer some of, or make comment on some of what you've said, because that sparked a whole load of stuff for me. Thank you, Holly.
Absolutely.
That's so fantastic. With the allergen testing, one of the hiccups that with the allergen testing is that you actually have to expose yourself to the food before you can get a reading of a reaction. So if you've avoided it, you're not going to get a reading. And I didn't realize that was how things worked. So
Oh,
that,
actually, for the blood testing, that is they expose your blood to it, but they don't expose you to it, which is
yes.
why my
Oh,
doctor
right.
probably thinks it doesn't work as well. Yeah, if you get the spot testing, that definitely is probably a more accurate test. But you can submit blood, and
Yes,
they will do
this is
but
what.
they will test the blood directly and see if because they could test several allergens all at once on the same amount of blood. So.
Well, this was the test that I investigated. It's an IgG test, and they actually do require that you've been exposed to the possible allergen within a couple of weeks. So maybe it's a different test, in which case I'm really interested to know more. I have made an appointment to see a naturopath because I've gone down all the orthodox medical avenues. So, well, I am going down them, but I'm also thinking that maybe backtrack. I've recently had some major stressors. I've had 6 eye operations in 8 months, and I think that put pressure on my system, and I think that affected my gut badly. And I think my gut, when I listen to myself, I think I've just got to give it time to rest and recover, and then I can maybe reintroduce micro amounts of food to see how they go. And I think that might be an approach. I love the kinesiology approach. I've been trying some of that. One of the things that has created a question in my mind is when we do this sort of work, we actually open up our sensitivities. So we're opening up our sensitivities to people, to emotions, to moods, to facial expressions, to blood flow in others and observing. So if we're opening up our sensitivities, I can't help but wonder whether that you don't get to choose, well, I'll have a sensitivity in this area and that area, but not in this area. Maybe opening up sensitivity is opening up sensitivity, that it may create sensitivity in more areas than you think it does. So that's just a throw it out there thought. I don't know what other people think about it. Oh, and on the weird and wonderful side of things, trying to find something that'd help. I've been reading the book Medical Medium, which is very interesting, even if you don't subscribe to these thoughts, that his suggestion is that a lot of people have been exposed to glandular fever, mononucleosis, Epstein-Barr virus, and that once you've been exposed, it actually stays in your system for a long time. And an awful lot of people have been exposed to it and don't know. And there's many different strains, and it can sometimes, in times of stress, create unexpected symptoms like thyroid disorders. And I've had a hemithyroidectomy many years ago. So it's interesting to know that there's a lot more things going on under the surface. And his suggestion is, like with hypnosis, your body is going to look after itself as best it can. It's not going to attack itself. even if it gets confused, it's doing its best to look after you. So that's throwing that out there.
Yep. That's the joys of this topic is there are so many parts to the machine that there are so many angles that you can approach it. It can almost get overwhelming. And I wish that Lenora had the ability to be on here live right now. She's traveling, so she's listening, and I'm sure it's driving her bananas listening to this and not having the ability to comment. And then Renee put in the comments that she had had allergy testing done in the past, but it did not provide any helpful results. The doctor explained that many allergic reactions are caused by a combination of foods, preservatives, and spices together, which makes it almost impossible to test for. And that's why one little thing that one of my squirrels brought up was when I tell people that you have to try every food at least 3 times, and I'll get these like, whoa, 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 whoa. And the reason is bad cooks, bad ingredients. And when Renee was talking about, she gets reactionary from certain oils, well, if you study how those oils are made, it may not be the actual the actual seed, the actual plant, but what that plant gets put through to create the oil. Man, you listen to some of the processes and you're like, well, there's nothing wrong with corn, but when you do that to corn, it's not really a corn product anymore, really, or soybeans or stuff like that. And yeah, the olive oils and more, those things have been around since history, long before they had all of these steams and chemicals and stuff that they could. Olive oil, take healthy olives, squeeze them hard, get oil. Ta-da! But with some of the stuff that we're dealing with, like I had talked about earlier, you may also want to look into some Chinese medicine and bring up, like you pointed out, you had stressed your body out quite a bit, and you also don't know what those stressors were linked to from your childhood. It could easily be that there's some anchor in there where your body's just like, oh, we remember this when we were in the womb and mom ate this and it didn't go well. Well, the kid didn't understand that whoever cooked it for mom used bad ingredients and was a bad cook. And that's how I've helped with a certain amount of my clients with food pickiness and allergies and things like that. But have you also worked with any of your other people for your migraines to make sure that it wasn't a replay?
I haven't done it for a replay, but I've definitely worked with some of my colleagues, and also I called in Carl Smith in the UK. Well, at the moment he's in Las Vegas, I think, but Carl Smith seems to be one of these people that can get me moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And that definitely helped with optimistic outlook. And also another thing that I've found really, really helpful is, especially in beginning to reduce the inflammation, is Wim Hof breathing. And, I'm not quite into ice baths yet, but I'm working up to it.
Uh,
At the moment, I've got to cool to nearly cold showers, but I'll get there.
I've heard lots about them, but growing up in Minnesota and doing dumb stuff like swimming in the lake while there was still ice in the middle of it, just to prove we could, brought back some bad flashbacks where I'm just like, I've taken enough cold showers against my will. I'm not gonna, I just can't get myself to take them on purpose.
Well, some people find it absolutely invigorating,
Yes.
but preferably by choice, not by being thrown in or anything like that.
Exactly. But there's a spa place here in Dallas where they've got, I want to say it's like 28 different hot tubs with different minerals from around the world. So they've researched the minerals and the temperatures, and they've got them at different temperatures. But they also have 2 cold plunge. Yeah, I did it. Got up to here and went, yeah, did it, done. Give me a hot tub. Holly got your hand up.
Oh, just you mentioned Epstein-Barr, and I was just going to say that's definitely on the list. One that my doctor's actually, I asked her to screen for me is also Lyme disease. I don't know if you've ever been anywhere that would have been an exposure, but that can stay with you forever. And then also, I was just going to say if when Hof breathing is helping, something else to look into is just see if other dopamine activities make a difference for you. They do make a difference for me. Vagus nerve specifically is something to look at. And then also, one thing with looking into TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, it's actually recommended. It says you probably will notice improvement from the cold showers, but you're not ready for those yet because I have a cold sensitivity and my system's fighting cold. So it was recommending that I not necessarily never do it, but don't do it immediately because my body it will get that instant brush, but then it will back off as well. And then just one other thing I was thinking about, TJ was talking about ingredients. If you live in the US, something like 90% of the cocoa beans that we eat, they don't want to take the time to prepare them correctly, so they burn them all. So who knows how many ingredients, granted it's going to be different in different countries and all that, but who knows how many ingredients you're eating that literally you've never had them prepared correctly, and this goes for all of us, just because, in the people who create it decide that it's not worth the time to do it right.
Well, and sadly, I even saw a couple of reports now on spices in the grocery stores. I'm like, don't mess with my spices. Don't stop messing with my food. And yeah, they were pointing out that they had some shysters that were, some of the brands were not up to quality, shall we say, in the spices. And so, yes, Renee, you're right. Our coffee beans are notorious for having mold because they're not stored correctly. And because of the high demand, they're not processed properly as well. So sad news for all you coffee lovers. You got to find a brand that rests well in your mornings. Holly.
Sorry, I'll try to be really fast. Also, I just keep this in mind. I do believe that the energy of the people who harvest it, prepare it, everything goes into the food. And so maybe taking a moment and clearing the energy of your food before you eat it is a good idea.
Yes. And you'll find out if there's one thing about picking it up in a supermarket, but if you can go to a farmer's market, knowing that it was grown in that field by the person that's selling it to you,
And quickly about the energy. Yes, changing the energy of the food is another avenue that's really interesting. I haven't developed along those lines enough, but I think you can actually change the energy of food, especially with Raymond Grace is really good at doing things like that. So I'm
Yes.
going to go down that avenue too.
Yeah, and taking the time, and I'm not saying this religiously, taking the time to bless your food, to hold it and physically put good intentions, good energy, blessings, and people go, oh, stop! It's been proven. So I always take the time to bless my food because why not? And now, unfortunately, it's time for me to bless you all because our time is up. Speaking of time, man, it's amazing how quickly it goes. Every time I start these, I look at the clock and I'm like, oh, it's going to be 2 hours. I hope we can fill up 2 hours. And then we're done already? So, once again, thank you for taking the time to invest here on this platform. Before we clock out, I do want to say, could we all just send positive energies to our buddy Phil in Aussie land? He's had some medical challenges, and so he was going to join us tonight, and I dropped the ball. I didn't get him the information in time, so I'm hopeful that he will get the information and be able to join us next week. I did get to chat with him for a bit this week, so for all of us that are having some challenges, Fran, sending you as much energy as we can as well. And I'm looking forward to all of us getting back here in 7 glorious days so we can exchange notes of how different our lives are, and I'll let you guys know what happened at the reunion. Yeah, going to a class reunion this coming weekend. So, yeah, all sorts of funky stuff. It's going to be fun to hear from everybody in 7 days. So until then, I can't sign off until I say, love you, Mom. Gonna see her. I'll see you tomorrow, Mom. Love you. And for the rest of you, I'll see you back here in 7. Love you as well. Till then. Bye.